I now call this meeting to order at 5:07 p.m. Attorney General Sonia, could you please lead us in the fun song this week?
Tigers fight.
We're now going to move into a roll call.
President Ali, Vice President Britton,
Present.
Treasurer Allen, Chief of Staff Hurley, Deputy Chief of Staff Bullock, Director Green, Director Bryant, Director Matthews, Director Fleury, Director Reyes, Assistant Director Paredes, Director Kasaka, Director Dalton, Assistant Director Geiger,
Here.
Director Thomas, Director Elliott, Assistant Director Fitzgerald, Director Morgan, Assistant Director Mitchell, Director Brown, Assistant Director Arobike, Director Ifeji, Representative Hannah, Representative Abenes, Representative Davis, Representative Andrew, Representative Guilford, Representative Osazua, Graphic Designer Lazanework, Photographer Lahai, Videographer Gineja, President Pro Tempore Kelly, Government Operations Chair Farrell, Appropriation Chair Miller, Senator Atalogan, Senator Cohn, Senator Trejo, Senator Salmon, Senator Conte, Senator Land, Senator Kinjabu, Senator Williams, C. Williams, Senator K. Williams, Senator Rivera Forbes, Senator Hastings, Senator Billiecko, Senator Fufak, Senator Stanley, Senator Rines, Parliamentarian Ekbo, Chief Justice Olojo, Deputy Chief Justice Blandon, Associate Justice Nikita, Associate Justice Hayes Moore, Associate Justice Alua.
We are now going to move into approval of the minutes. Minutes are approved. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Hear none, see none. Are there any public participation / student concerns? Senator Hastings.
Yeah, I'd just like to speak on behalf of a student who I spoke to a few times and share some of the things that they told me. So this student I reached out to because I heard that they were concerned about the issue of litter on Towson's campus. And last week I connected them with Director Ifeji of the Sustainability Department. And as I know, they've been communicating on the issue as well. Now, this past Sunday, this student and 4 other individuals organized a cleanup of Towson's campus around the Union and Liberal Arts Building. And again, I'd just like to share some of the insights that they offered me about their experience. Now, the biggest issue that they noticed was a significant amount of shiny golden confetti, especially on the lawn and the peripheries of the forest around the Union Building. The student noted that the confetti was likely from a Towson University event or from a university display. And the student also noted that the confetti was not biodegradable, it was plastic, and that there were biodegradable options for confetti. And overall, the student noted that it seemed like the university didn't take much effort into cleaning up from the event that might have been there. So I just wanted to speak on behalf of the student and bring attention to the issue of litter on Townsend's campus. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hastings. Are there any other public participation / student concerns? Okay, see none, hear none, I hear none, see none. We're now moving to communications, starting with advisors' remarks.
Can you hear me now? Okay, good evening. The only announcement currently is that the petitions to run for the next, for the 2026-2027 Student Government Association Board will open starting Monday, March 23rd. For those that would like to join, the positions open are President, VP, Treasurer, Attorney General, Justice, and Senator. Positions for the Student Government Association do not carry out year to year. So if you are currently sitting on the board and would like to stay on the board, you will have to run. So please plan to submit a petition. Director positions are not on the ballot, like they're appointed positions. So the applications for those will open, so you have time to run before the end of the year, but they will be done and appointed via application at the end of the completed SGA election cycle. That's it. Oh, and Advisor Harris also hopes you all have a great spring break.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appropriations Committee.
Hello, everyone. Happy Tiger Tuesday. Appropriations Committee met last Thursday. We were able to hear a budget from the Towson University Students for Public Health. They had a budget for the spring semester that they appealed and approved, so we heard them out, and their budget bill is on the floor today. We were also able to approve grants from the Explore Conference Fund and the Just Do It Fund, which is our first of the year. Are there any other questions? That I yield.
Government Operations Committee.
All right, happy Tech Tuesday, everyone. So the Government Operations Committee met Wednesday, and then we had a emergency meeting on Monday to go over resolutions 42 and 43, which were both deemed favorable. Are there any questions? All right, and with that, I yield.
Rules Committee.
All right, good evening, everybody. So the Rules Committee met last Friday at 4 p.m. and we went over all of the Senate bills. Senate Bill number 14 was ruled unfavorable. Senate Bill number 15 was ruled favorable with amendments, as well as Senate Bill 16 was also ruled favorable with amendments, and Senate Bill 17 was ruled unfavorable. And with that, I yield.
President Ali.
Happy Tiger Tuesday, everyone. How are you guys feeling today? It's good to hear. I just have a couple of announcements. So this week, I will go over my meetings first. This week, I was able to meet with the Office of Sustainability. We had conversations revolving our green funds on campus, and mainly the conversations talked about possibly restructuring these funds so they're a safety net for environmentally conscious orgs on campus rather than a fund where all orgs can come from them. So of course, we'll be having conversations with the Appropriations Committee and E-Board to see what that would look like, but that was just something interesting that was shared in that meeting. They also had conversations about how Towson University SGA students showed up at Tiger Pride Day for environmentally conscious bills. So you know that your group during Tiger Pride Day was advocating for a bill of that nature. Please see me after. I would love to put you in contact with the Office of Sustainability. They would like to hear what your conversations look like. And this past week I have been meeting with the PCC office preparing speeches for the Wellbeing Summit. Towson University is introducing the Survive to Thrive initiative through the Wellbeing. department on campus, and I will be speaking at that on March 26th. I've just been planning and working with Sarah Parker Hughes on my speech and slowing down on my speaking. Another note from my office, Student Appreciation Week is March 23rd to March 27th. And SGA in general, will be giving back to the students that make our position so meaningful. We have promotion day on Monday where we'll be giving out goodie items, and then the rest of the week's itinerary will be shared by special projects. I did want to let you guys know that a sign up genius will be coming out of the special projects department as well as the community outreach department for you guys to sign up for community service in regards to helping out during Student Appreciation Week. This is going to be a week long of events. There's going to be a plethora of different places to do that you can help out with and get community service for. This is eWard offering you a bulk opportunity to get community service. So at the end of the semester, you are not scrambling. Please take heed to that. On March 30th, the Civic Fellows from the Office of Civic Engagement and Social Responsibility will be hosting an immigration safety town hall from 5 to 6:30. This is a mandatory event for all SGA members. I know that this is spur of the moment, so if the time again, March 30th from 5 to 6 not work for you, please let Attorney General Sonia know, but this falls within the 105th platform. It's a town hall that we would like all SGA members to be in support of, as well as to come out and to share their opinions and to advocate for immigration safety on campus. So again, if you are not able to make that March 30th from 5 to 6:30, please let Attorney General Sonia know by Friday. Next, another mandatory event, which I sent an email out at the beginning of this week, and I might have sent it out again on Sunday too. I don't know if you guys saw that, just ignore it. The safety walk will be held on March 25th from 5:30 to 8:30. This is a mandatory event that we talked about in those accountability review meetings that we had at the end of winter semester. So you guys all were made aware of it, and you guys all, if you weren't able to make it, should have submitted an absence request. To the new hires in the room, we are having our safety walk March 25th from 5:30 to 8:30. If you guys are not going to be able to make it, you need to have an absence request form into Attorney General Sonia by Friday in the business. And then, of course, our Department of Student Services and Affairs, I don't know why I blanked on that, we'll be talking more about the details of safety walk. And then I just also wanted to reiterate something that has been brought to my attention, but I wasn't at the last GA to announce it. We're just trying to make sure that we're keeping the SGA space very clean. I love seeing all of you guys in there throughout the day, seeing you guys' faces, seeing the conversations that you're having and the meals that you're sharing in the community that you're building. However, for community to be productive, the space needs to be clean as well. So that includes the break rooms, all the ones that lead on this back wall and the main area. If you are leaving things in the open area, I do want you to be able to leave them and to have the trust that they won't be taken, but I would be more wary about the things that we are leaving in the area, just because the SGA office is open to all of campus. That includes our food as well. Clean up after yourselves. There's no reason why there should be Chick-fil-A bags just sitting there for days on end. And with that, if there are no questions, I yield.
Attorney General Sonia?
Happy Tiger Tuesday, everyone. As always, just echoing a few things that I've already said in prior weeks. Weekly reports to do Friday, 5 p.m. Make sure they're detailed, accurate, and in the correct format. Safety walk is mandatory. If you're not able to submit an absence request for that, just do it ASAP. By Friday, the latest that I'll accept it. Town hall as well, if you cannot go, it is on March 25th. Submit an absence request for them as well. They changed, it's March 25th? Okay, yeah, her date, yeah. March 30th. It's that Friday, I believe, March 30th. If you cannot go, submit an absence request for that as soon as possible as well. I do know that midterms are coming up. We are in the midterm season. Please do not just disappear from your duties. If you cannot fulfill your job requirements at this time, it's understandable. We are all students first. Please do not just disappear. Submit a leave of absence request. So that just means go into the absence request form and in the notes section, say leave of absence. Policy in the past has been 2 weeks max. Anything beyond that, you'll have to meet with me and we'll have a meeting to see if we can make some shape and stuff like that. But yeah, do not just disappear. And good luck on your midterms, guys. Any questions? With that, I yield.
Chief of Staff Hurley,
No report.
Department of Academic Affairs.
How's it going, everyone? Happy Tiger Tuesday. This week, Academic Affairs, last week, we met with the director of the Writing Center and had a good conversation there. We met with a rep from International Students and Scholars and started working on a project with them to introduce a survey for all of our international students regarding academics. This week, we will be meeting with Tutoring and Learning as well as Accessibility and Disability Services, just branching out into all the different organizations there for students, all the different departments. And we will continue to prepare for our meeting next week with the provost. Any questions there? And with that, I yield.
Department of Communications.
Hi, everybody. Happy Tiger Tuesday. Happy Tiger Tuesday. I have one thing. This is actually a community service event, so I will be touching base with Director Matthews about it. But I just wanted to bring to you all's attention that Tigerthon is happening, I believe in April. It's hosted by, I think, like another entity of the Civic Engagement and Social Responsibility. If I'm not mistaken, I met with Jessica Voss, who's representing that office. And it's basically like a day to raise funds for Johns Hopkins Children's Center. They do it annually, so they're celebrating their 42nd year. They're looking for SGA's participation. Think of it like Olympic style games, but like for specific groups of us and things like that. Right now I'm working on communication efforts to have it like collaborate. In some regard, I'm gonna be meeting with the comms team about it sometime this week into next. And yeah, with that, I yield. Thank you.
Director of Community Outreach.
Happy Tiger Tuesday, everyone. Okay, so tomorrow I'm gonna be doing a tabling with civic engagement, 1 to 2:30. We're gonna be talking about Impact TU. That is mandatory and all SGA members do have to go. And like I said last year, the sign up for it closes March 16th, so that's coming up. And then also Impact TU is gonna be April 18th in the Union Ballrooms, 9 to 2 p.m. Another service opportunity, LASO is having their Noche April 25th, and they need people to help during their event. They need 18 volunteers, and for them to arrive by 4:50 in the Union Ballrooms. I'll send out a sign up genius for that in the community service group chat on the GroupMe. The sign up genius is gonna close this Friday, and then if you do sign up to volunteer, an email will be sent out to you on Monday with further instructions. And then if you have any more questions of what volunteering will look like for Notre, then you can ask Deputy Chief Justice Wendell. And then also, if you do participate / volunteer during Student Appreciation Week, like President Ali said, a sign-up genius will be sent out for that too. You will get community service for that too. And like any other community service that you do throughout the semester, the same rule applies like last time. Send me a picture, send me the date, send me the time. And I would prefer that you do send it to me separately and not in the GroupMe group chat because stuff gets caught up in there. But if there are no questions with that,
Senior training.
There's no form. You just send it through like message, the volunteer stuff, or like the community hours.
there's no form. You just send it as a message and just send a picture, proof of you there, send the date and the time that you did it. Thanks.
Director of Campus Relations.
Happy Tiger Tuesday, guys. My only announcement for today is that yesterday I sent out a Microsoft form link to choosing basically SGA week, Spirit Week themes. That's gonna be the week after Student Appreciation Week. And it's just gonna be like dressing up in different themes. And you guys are gonna select it and then students are going to choose through things that you select and choose, I guess, whatever they want. And so, yeah, it's gonna be a collaborative week where students and SGA will dress up the same. And Tuesday, if you look at the form, I didn't add a Tuesday because Tuesday we're gonna wear our SGA gear because that's Thanksgiving. And yeah, I would really appreciate if you guys could fill it out if you want to, if you don't have to, but yeah, thank you. Oh, and it closes Thursday. Thank you.
Department of New Student Development. Department of Special Projects.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Couple of announcements. If your, for TU Catering specifically, if your IES form has been approved regarding orders from TU Catering, I'm currently in the process of submitting your request, or they have already done so. So please be on the lookout for a confirmation email from me soon. In regards to Student Appreciation Week, President Eiley and I met today to go over the final details, which will take place, of course, after spring break, as mentioned earlier, from March 23rd to the 27th. The schedule for the week is as follows. Monday is promotional day, which will be a tabling event at 12 to 3 in the Union, table 5. Tuesday will be last call for breakfast, which is 8 to 10 p.m. in Union Ballrooms D and E. Wednesday is pause to de-stress, which is 3 to 5 and Tiger Plaza, and that's gonna be a tight turnaround because, of course, Safety Walk is 5:30 as well, starting at Tiger Plaza. Thursday will be the indoor movie night, 5 to 8 during the pre-meeting room. And then Friday is the block party on Towson Field from 2 to 6 p.m. So please stay tuned for more information regarding student appreciation, and I will also add those events through the SGA calendar as well. Lastly, when you all are submitting requests through TU Catering, it will be very helpful for me if you could specify the sides and other food selections when choosing meal packages. Many of the packages include options that must be selected, and if they are not listed on the IES form, I will have to follow up for clarification. So for example, if you're selecting an American breakfast package, it's going to include several items that are included, but there will be options for you to specifically choose. So unless it is listed on the form or in the comments, I will not know what option you would like unless you want me to choose one that I will like. So please try to review the TU menu before to include those selections on your form whenever as possible. Any questions? Thank you.
Department of Student Organizations.
Happy Tiger Tuesday, everybody. All right, love that. Okay, so just a couple of announcements. First, we are having our Org Olympics April 7th. So that's fun, it's coming up pretty fast. And with that, with our Org Olympic committee, we are supposed to be meeting on Friday at 2 p.m. But I will let you know if anything changes. And with that, I yield.
Department of Student Services and Affairs.
Hey everybody, I'm just gonna reiterate what everybody said. The safety walk is on Wednesday, March 25th at 5:30, starting at Tiger Plaza. It is mandatory for everybody to attend, so like Attorney General Sonia said, if you cannot attend, please submit your absence request by this Friday. And street team will be on the same week, Friday the 27th, and more information about the new setup of street team will come out later this week. Any questions? With that, I yield.
Department of Sustainability.
Hi, everyone. Happy Tiger Tuesday. Thank you. So last week, Friday, I met with the Office of Sustainability to talk about the littering problems going here on campus. And I'm working on that. And next week, not next week, but next month, I'm planning an Earth Week. So we're going to have like events all Earth Day, well, all Earth Week falling Earth Day. And we're going to do a big community service outreach. So I'll keep you all posted on that. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, with that, I yield.
Fraternity and Sorority Life Representative.
Happy Tiger Tuesday, everyone. All right,
It's not much, but it's a little bit. As far as the office and the Greek ambassador team, we'll be hosting another blood drive this month, and that'll take place this Thursday, March 12th, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. in Union Ballroom. We're also going to start tabling as a Greek ambassador team, just to represent Greek life and answer any questions that anyone has. And that's going to start from March 23rd all the way to the end of the school year. We're also having a podcast, like I mentioned in prior GAs. We're starting that podcast pretty soon. So if anyone has any topics or questions, feel free to put that in our box in the office, which is in Union 251. And also, we'll be having a Greek town hall on March 27th. So if you guys want to come speak to Greek life members or anything like that, please let me know so I can get that on the itinerary. As far as councils, I only have stuff for 2 councils. As far as MGC, there's a lot going on in the world of MGC. ASR will be hosting 2 different community services this month. So there's one today via Zoom and on the 24th, which would be making 7 to 8 cards for Women's History Month. As far as the Lambdas, they are still doing their Rock Your Socks philanthropy. So check their Instagram for that. And they're also hosting an event tonight called Beyond the Bachelors from 6 to 7:30 in LA 2310. LTA is continuing on with their Founders Week events. They're doing Bachata General Board meeting today at 8 p.m. in U322. They're also hosting a day in the life with the Lambda Lady tomorrow at 7 p.m. in LA 4212. And to end off their week, they're going to be doing a Women's History Month panel this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. in Science Complex 2133. And then Cia will also be having a Mujeres in Motion event tonight from 7 to 8:30 p.m. in Science Complex 2226. As far as MPHC, there's 3 orgs hosting things this month. So Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated will be hosting an event tonight. Their event is a global health simulation today in Science Complex 2133 at 7:13 p.m. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated is hosting Briner Womanhood Week this week, and the next event is Adulting 101 tonight at 7:20 p.m. in LA 3216. Please check the Instagram for the rest of the week. And lastly, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated is hosting a women's wellness initiative all month, and they're having a menstrual product drive now until March 31st. So please look at their Instagram as well to look at different ways to donate. And with that, I yield.
Those are Veterans Representative.
No report.
University Residence Government Representative.
Happy Tiger Tuesday. Okay, so tonight is our first round of elections. We have 6 people who are running. We have 1 for president, 2 for vice president, and 3 for finance. Trust me, that is not bad. Next week, well, the week after spring break is way worse. Updates for our laundry resolution. We're working on an Instagram post and an email. That should be coming out soon, hopefully before spring break. My advocacy committee and I worked on a survey focusing on activities and initiatives within residence halls. This survey will be emailed to all residents of Towson University. It could happen today, it could happen tomorrow, I'm not sure. An incentive to filling out this survey, waiting for the green light on this, is being entered into a giveaway for 20 dining dollars. There would be 5 winners. Yeah, are there any questions? With that, I yield.
Campus Activity Board Representative.
Happy Tiger Tuesday, everyone. So tomorrow, March 11th, we have our general members meeting from 5 to 6 p.m. in room 329. March 26th, we have an event called Disco Dive from 6 to 9 p.m. in Pause Pavilion. And finishing March 28th, we have a bus trip to Washington DC. And the time is still to be announced, but we're gonna depart from Pause Pavilion, so that I do.
Freshman council representative?
No report.
All right, happy Tiger Tuesday, everybody. I really don't have much for us this week. Okay. Anyways, so like President Ali said, we met with the sustainability office as well, and we talked a lot about things, especially the Green Fund, as well as Tiger Pride Day as well. So like President Ali said, just backing up on that, report to us if you talk about any sustainability initiatives. Other than that, so if you're not going to keep your agenda, please recycle it in the back, and nameplates all in that box in the back. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Oh, thank you, Bonnie. With that, I yield. Are there any opinions of the court?
Happy Tiger Tuesday, everybody. For the J branch, we will be hearing all student org appeals starting after spring break. And additionally, a calendar has been sent out for organizations to register for their appeal. If you guys know of any groups who have appeals and didn't receive an email, please tell them to get in contact with Chief Justice Olojo or Attorney General. With that, I yield.
Senators, we will now move into a quorum call, so please click yes on your clickers to indicate you are here. Of 15 senators present, we have met quorum. Yeah. Are there any motions on the floor? Government Operations Chair Burrell.
Motion to review Senate Bill 14.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Senator Rivera Ports. Vote of 15-0, the motion is passed, and I will ask Appropriations Chair Miller to please come to the room.
Hello, everyone. As I introduced last week, Senate Bill 14 is to deal with the appointment of vice chairs and deputy chief justice. I just wanted to put this bill on the floor in order to give more continuity to how we do things in SGA. All other appointed positions are approved through 2/3 vote, so I just wanted to do the same for these positions as well. I'm gonna go ahead and open the floor to questions.
Is there any debate? Comments? Senator Rines?
Yeah, I'm not gonna speak on behalf of second reading. I'm not gonna speak on behalf of the Rules Committee because, yeah, it was found unfavorable, but I will say that personally, I disagree with this And I just kind of want to talk or maybe remind everyone of how problematic it can be to do things like legitimize this supposed power structure, especially within the Senate. A couple of situations, or a couple really weeks ago, we had a situation where there was kind of like a power trip or like this supposed power that came with the vice chair position, that there was like a hierarchy in the Senate. And what we're supposed to really be going off of is that there's not. I mean, when you share a committee, that's different. And like that's, you're being entrusted into something, but when you're a vice chair, not that the position isn't very important, because clearly it is, and the Senate wouldn't work without it, but we like legitimize the fact that, okay, so I did something that you didn't do as a senator. Now it reaffirms this kind of like problematic nature that we've seen in the Senate last semester. So for that reason, I would completely disagree, and I would implore the Senate to vote no on this.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that point up. That actually was a lot of the reason that I did write this bill. Not to enhance any power dynamics that may be there, but if people find the position that a vice chair would be in to be problematic, it would give the Senate a position to voice those opinions. Because even though the goal is not to enforce any inherent power structure, it does still stand that in the event that a chair is not there, the vice chair does assume the position in the meantime. So this would just be to have allow the Senate to have a say in who is being appointed as vice chair, just to allow for more concerns to be voiced.
President Alvin.
I like to play devil's advocate here for a second. And I can say anything? Okay. I guess I'm gonna pose this as questions and then responses so I can further my question. Your argument is that without an elected vice chair in a position to sit under a Senate leadership position, so a president of a committee, or a president of, yes, a committee, right? When we do have this president step out or not be able to fulfill their role, there's this disconnect between who is supposed to be the next person in charge. And for that reason, you would like to elect somebody at the beginning of the first General Assembly, so there wouldn't be a disconnect.
So the goal would be for this, I believe I had it as the second General Assembly. The part where it says the first General Assembly is for Senate leadership. It's what we've been following. It just hadn't been put into the writing necessarily, where it had been missed. Senate leadership has been appointed at the first General Assembly of the year and not at the SGA retreat. I was proposing that the vice chairs be appointed and sworn in at the second General Assembly.
Okay.
And it's not so much that there's a disconnect, it's just that at least this year or the previous year, if there's a meeting that has needed to be held, the vice chair would take over that meeting for that committee. And in that instance, even though there is not a hierarchy, they are still in charge of a committee. So it would be, I think it would be good to have this, to allow the Senate to have a say in who is going to also preside over that.
Okay, thank you. That explained my follow-up question. So I guess my next statement and my contention for this is that Amani is completely right. At the beginning of the fall semester, this ideology that a vice chair was a sworn-in elected position that could not be questioned caused a lot of rift within the Senate that me and Vice President Britton had to handle within ourselves. And I don't think that giving more power rather than fixing the internal issues within the SGA Senate is going to create the change that you want to see here. This works perfectly if we did not have a body within SGA that looks to Senate leadership as a miniature e-board. So this would be fine in totality if the structures within SGA worked how they were supposed to work. So if Senate leadership was not able to sit in on a meeting and they needed somebody to preside over their meeting, and am I crazy to say if they called in their liaison rather than having a vice chair step up, and now there's another group of people within Senate that have to adhere to somebody else's, whichever way they choose to run this meeting, whichever way they choose to hold Senate in that time, in that moment. I don't think that legislation is always the first solution. And I think for this situation in itself, legislation is not the first solution. A proper conversation about who the next leaders of the Senate will be or how they're going to lead Senate needs to happen before we can put legislation in. And we have the same kind of sort of issue within freshman council. It's like this presidency, vice president ideology takes away from the real work that needs to be done within a committee, within Senate in itself.
Yeah, thank you for that point. I agree with you that, what happened last semester couldn't have necessarily been fixed with this legislation. But I do think that it may have prevented it from occurring. There were a lot of concerns about that. There were a lot of concerns about that position before the position was taken and before the event occurred. So if there had been an opportunity for the Senate to voice those opinions and vote no on that, on having the vice chair seat, then I believe that this could be a good preventative method should that occur in the future. Because just like every other director and assistant director in here is an appointed position, the Senate votes on that. So the vice chair and the deputy chief justice position are appointed. So I believe that it gives enough time for the Senate to voice concerns and for the rest of the student government to voice concerns. In order for that to happen. It's just how but I understand both sides. So I was just proposing this as a preventative measure for the future.
Senator Rivera Forms.
Okay. Honestly, I do see the pros and cons of this. I will say I do think the vice chair role does need to be more descriptive in legislation and the rules and responsibilities. But I myself am pretty against being confirmed by a 2/3 majority. And that's really just from personal experience. And I'm coming from the perspective, I've served as a chair and I've served as a vice chair. So I know what it looks like on both sides. I think if we were to put this in place, the flip side of that other coin where you said now the Senate's voting for someone, what if the Senate does have a majority, which we've also seen before where a Senate has one side that's strongly opinionated about something, and then a person runs for vice chair, a person gets appointed by their committee. They go before the Senate, that Senate's opposed to that person and what they're thinking, now they're not confirmed. I really think that this should be left in the hands of the committee. And other senators, we're not all in the same committees. Like if the vice chair of government operations were to come up, wait, I'm the vice chair. If the vice chair of appropriations was to come up and speak, I wouldn't really know much what to say. I'm not in appropriations. I don't even know if I can properly vote on this person because I don't know what's going on in the meeting. And it's like they've already been sworn into their role. So it's like, I'm gonna swear them in again. And then I'm not even gonna see what they're doing in their role at all because I'm not in the committee. I don't know. I feel like that's a very wishy-washy thing rather than us just writing legislation that actually confirms the vice chair role in committee as it is. So what they should do, whether they're writing minutes, what time minutes should be submitted on their behalf, what happens in the case that a committee chair can't attend a meeting, then we can write, okay, the vice chair has to step up in this type of stance. Just things like that, like we have the same passage of when the president pro tempore is not sitting in their seat, then you know who goes to next. I think we can write something like that versus this. I don't think we should take the risk with it. We've seen how our student government can turn into a lot like our normal government at times with politics going back and forth and decisions being made. And we don't want to have an imbalance there at all.
Yeah, that was something I also did consider when writing this bill was to have it left to committees. The reason I settled on the student senate was because committees, a lot of times, appropriations committee last year was 3 people. To like 3 to 4 people. So that's a lot less than like all of you guys here voting and talking about the committees. And I do think it is our role as senators to be at least well versed in what we do as a Senate, whether that be knowing what different committees do or do not do. Just at least to hear the testimony. I also included the Deputy Chief Justice in this because the way that it has been and the way that it could continue to be is that the Chief Justice comes up and declares who they would like to have as their Deputy Chief Justice. Just to streamline how vice chairs and deputy chief justices are sworn in, the same way that directors and assistant directors are sworn in under their positions after they're appointed. I think it would be good to leave it up to the committees if it was going to be, if it was more certain that there would be a larger committee size, essentially. Because if there were like a 2 to 3 person committee, rules only ever has 6 people, I feel like it would make sense to come to a larger vote where the rest of the SGA could have discussion too. But I did think of that, I just came to a different conclusion. But I see that point, thank you.
Government Operations Chair Burrows.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up a point that Senator Rines said during the Rules Committee that I feel like should be echoed here, is that for a vice chair, they're not always a vice chair. Like, for example, I can ask like Senator Kay Williams to do meeting minutes if my vice chair isn't there, but he doesn't have to do that. Like, if there was more, if it was more established that that is a role of vice chairs, because for example, as Senate leadership, if President Pro Tempore Kelly isn't there, then I would step up if because we're all supposed to be well versed in our roles and well versed in what each other does, but those same standards aren't upheld for vice chairs. So I understand your point when it comes to, for example, the deputy chief justice or like assistant directors, but they're supposed to be well versed in what their jobs and duties like outline versus with vice chairs. It's not saying there's no really real responsibilities outlined for the need for the legitimacy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was hoping that this would be the first step in outlining the role of vice chairs, because before this bill, there actually wasn't a line in Rules Committee where it said that there could be a vice chair for Rules Committee. So it's a role that hasn't necessarily been fleshed out, but it's a role that we as a Senate and as Senate leadership have been relying on. Like I have been a vice chair, I'm now a chair. There is a lot that we do ask our vice chairs to do. I rely on Senator Kay Williams for a lot. When I was the vice chair, I felt like I also had my input asked for a lot in terms of things appropriations based. And I wanted to give that first step in establishing their role. And if they were elected by a 2/3 vote, I think then it would be fair to ask them to do more, to outline like what they do, to recognize what they do. As of right now, if they are not a voted upon position, I feel like outlining their duties and responsibilities to flesh out what they do wouldn't necessarily be just or fair. Like if we wrote out what they did and applied it there without a vote, then it would be us appointing a position without the consideration of the rest of the Senate.
So with your points, I do understand that, but also I kind of feel as though with vice chairs, they understand their responsibilities and they're kind of accepting more responsibility when they do ask to be a vice chair. So I do agree with you that there should be more responsibilities outlined, but I do ultimately think that vice chairs do accept responsibilities that are I guess like delegated by the chair. To the other point about wanting them to be more appreciated, I do again want to echo what President Ali said about like the inner Senate leadership culture. If that's something that a vice chair feels as though, or they don't feel appreciated. That's more so an internal issue, and then legislation can be created afterwards instead of just simply doing legislation.
Yeah, thank you. I just do want to be clear, my goal for this was not appreciation. I mean, I appreciate my vice chair a lot. And I appreciate all the vice chairs and the work they do, but that was not my goal with it. It was more of just acknowledging that they do a lot of work and that there is accountability that is needed with what, there should be accountability that follows the work that they do. Because they do a lot, and at times it will put them in somewhat of a leadership position. And there should be accountability that's followed.
Personnel.
For the sake of echoing, I would like to echo a common theme I'm hearing from the people that are posing questions for you, Elle, is that the thought of legitimizing the vice senate chair is not, like, it makes sense. It makes sense to have a legitimate role with planned out responsibilities and duties, yet you do not have that. So before we can have Senate vote 2/3 of majority on a role that Senate in totality does not understand how it works, you as the current chair might understand how a vice chair assists you. You might understand how the current chair of a vice assists you. However, the totality of Senate does not understand that. The totality of SGA does not understand that. So creating legislation that fills out their role will be, in my opinion, the first start. Everybody knows how Liam assists me. So if Liam's duties weren't, if he wasn't adhering to his duties, everybody would be able to tell exactly where he may be making mistakes. If he was overstepping, everybody would be able to tell where he may be overstepping. And then that, being able to tell that, you are able to protect yourself. In the past, Senate has not been able to tell where a vice chair's role begins and ends. And in the past, they have not been able to protect themselves against the power surge that vice chairs often get. So I think the first step should be creating legislation that outlines their duties to where if a senator feels as if they're overstepping their role, they have a way to protect themselves. So we do not deal with the culture that happens within SGA where these small dictators surge because of a title that not the totality of SGA does not truly understand, therefore they can't defend themselves.
Yeah, and I agree that those steps do need to be outlined and taken. I just felt like this was the first step because I felt that if I tried to outline the duties and responsibilities of a position that is not even voted upon, that it would seem like we were giving too much power to Senate leadership. Because it does just say in the guidelines right now that we appoint a vice chair. There's no voting or anything that goes along with that. So before we outline the duties and responsibilities, even if they are what vice chairs already do, it would seem like we were trying to give them more power before they were even democratically voted upon. So I agree. I just believe that this was the first step and not the other way around. But I see both sides.
Senator C. Williams. Kay Williams.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go really quickly. Sorry. I agree with everybody's points. So that's why I was kind of just gonna make the recommendation on kind of going off of what Brain said. I feel like when it comes to vice chair, I feel like there should be continuity when it comes to that because we have had issues with like this vice chair was voted in differently than this vice chair was. And so that's why I feel like it should kind of go based off of the committee though, not all of Senate. I feel like it should just stay within the committee when it comes to voting. But I do agree that there should be continuity when it comes to the way that vice chairs are voted in.
Senator Rhines.
Okay, great. I think the Senate is all in agreement here. I do want to leave a couple lasting comments about this bill, or maybe one big one. I think that with all respect to the bill, rather, I think that we as a Senate are running away from resolving the internal issues that we have as far as structure is concerned and writing legislation that's not aimed to help I think that if we really want to make change and we really want to address this issue, then we all sit down and talk as a Senate, talk about the internal issues that we have and resolve them that way through a conversation because it's not legislation, it's not anything that we have legislatively that's making people corrupt and power hungry. It's it's just it's the people, the energy and the attitude that we have in the Senate, and we need to address that. With that being said, I'd like to motion to call the question. I'd like to call the question, Senate Bill number 14.
Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Senator Billabong. Vote of 13-1-1, the motion is passed. We will now move to a vote. A vote of 0-12 to Senate Bill number 14 has failed. Thank you, Appropriations Chair Miller. Are there any motions on the floor? Senator Salmon.
Motion to review Senate Bill 15.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Senator. And with a vote of 15-0, the motion is passed. And seeing as I'm the bill writer, I'm going to ask Government Operations Chair Farrell to my close. Okay, good evening, everybody. So Senate Bill number 15 is just establishing the mechanism to put referendums on the ballot and the procedures for how that works. The only change that was made is lowering the number of signatures for a student petition from 500 to 300.
All right, considering that this is second reading, opinions on the bill is welcome. Attorney General Sonia.
Hello, will the SGA administrative assistant just be like our Janiyah, or would this be like student organization, so Chris's side? Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Senator, Senator Ryanson.
I was just gonna say, since there are no questions, right? No, okay, call the question, Senate Bill number 15.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Senator Billarico. Senator Stanley, are you voting by hand? Yes. Say affirmative. Affirmative. Senator Flupak, are you voting by hand? Affirmative. Senator Salmon, are you voting by hand? Affirmative. Okay, with a vote of 13-1-0, the call to question has passed. We will now move into a vote. Senator Stanley, are you voting by hand? Affirmative. Senator Flupak, are you voting by hand? Okay, Senator Salmon, you're voting by hand. Affirmative. Okay, and with a vote of 13-0-0, the bill has passed. Thank you, President Rosenberg Kelly, for your bill. Are there any motions on the floor? Senator Rhines,
Motion to review Senate Bill number 16.
is there a second? Thank you, Senator Billarico. Oh, there were. Senator Salmon, are you voting by hand? Affirmative. Okay, and with a vote of 13-0-0, the review of Senate Bill 16 has passed. You can now present your bill, President Rosenberg Kelly.
Thank you. So Senate Bill number 16, changes to the accountability and ethics handbook concerning the judicial branch and appeals process. So I'm just gonna say the changes that were made. Section 4, subsection A, I'm gonna read the whole thing as it was amended by the committee. So it says, should the Attorney General be submitted in an accountability review form, Chief Justice will assume the role of the Attorney General, and the Attorney General will recuse themselves from the investigation. The Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice will investigate and make a non-binding recommendation to the President as to what, if any, course of action should be taken, and both must concur before any decision may be issued. The President must review and consider this recommendation prior to the issuance of a decision. If the Attorney General files an appeal, the Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice will recuse themselves, and the remaining Associate Justices will oversee and decide on the appeal. And then the only other change that was made is in section 5, just basically giving the judicial branch 7 days to hear an appeal instead of 5. And I think that. Oh, we also added the word appealable in front of decision, just to clarify that not every single SJ decision can be appealed. It has to be certain appealable decisions. Those are all the changes made by the committee.
Considering this is a second reading, are there any opinions about this bill? Senator K. Williams.
I'm sorry, I wasn't present for our rules committee. Can you like explain the decision behind including the president again in the decision making?
Would anybody like the committee? I'll give myself a second round.
Yeah, sorry, I was gonna see if anyone else had anything to say before I kind of break it down. But yeah, so this was to give everyone context, this was like heavy debate in rules. And we got to hear from the judicial branch how they felt about it because that is who it's affecting. But the main thing that I'm gonna be commenting on is section 4, in the decision to re-include the president. So I won't speak for the committee, although the committee does find this favorable with amendments. But I'll speak for why I thought it was important. And for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, the Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice obviously have the knowledge on how appeals work. So it'd be inappropriate for a president to be conducting an investigation and they don't even know the proper procedures to conduct an investigation. And making a non-binding recommendation to the president. So there are internal procedures to hold each and every one of us in the SGA accountable, as if we're doing our jobs fairly, correctly, and as we swore by an oath when we got confirmed. But for the president, there are internal and external procedures, things written down and things not written down, i.e. Tower Light, i.e. YICAC, i.e. Fizz. What I'm saying is you're gonna know a corrupt president before you know a corrupt deputy chief justice or chief justice. There's more eyes on the president. And I also think that we as an administration should look to try to hold our attorney general to a higher standard than we do, which is why it's only different in this case. That the attorney general is investigated by the president. Yeah, because the attorney general is literally our accountability and ethics embodied. So if the attorney general goes back on those rules that we have as an SGA, then they should be held to a higher standard. Finally, there is a bit of a conflict of interest with the Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice making a decision. While we are so lucky as the 105th administration to have a very great impartial judicial branch who I don't doubt will hold Attorney General Sonia accountable in a heartbeat. That's just, we can't assume that's going to be the case for administrations to follow. And that's, the Deputy Chief Justice and Chief Justice would literally have to investigate and make a decision on their boss. And if their boss should have or keep their job or not, or if their boss crossed the line or not. And that's problematic for reasons that I don't have to explain, right? And so that's ultimately why the decision was made to let the power rest with the president for making the final the final decision. I also do want to point out that a good president will take the non-binding recommendation because they care about all of their branches and they value the opinion of the judicial branch. Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, Senator K. Williams.
Sorry, just one more question for us. I'm sorry. So in this bill, the president would be the only one making the decision, right? It would just be the attorney general and the deputy chief justice. Did I say that right? The chief justice and the deputy chief justice, they're the ones that are just doing the investigation and they're presenting, or they're making a recommendation to the president, but it's ultimately the president that decides the action that occurred, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, Appropriations Chair Miller.
I just had a question. Obviously there's the concern of the Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice would be investigating their boss. How would the concern be addressed of the president and the attorney general do serve on the same e-board and in some instances would run on the same ticket? How would, I feel like there would be concerns either way with
whoever is chosen to oversee the Attorney General position.
President Ali. Oh, President Ali.
I guess I could add a point of clarification to what the president's role is when they step into this position and when they swear into their oath at their inauguration. Their role is to oversee all of SGA. That includes e-board members. And I'm not the best at like reading off legislation top of my head, but again, I hate to keep using you as an example, but you're right here. If an impeachment were to be called against Liam, the president would have to serve impartially there. So I guess the same conversation happens that the president does serve in an impartial capacity. That's their role. Me and Attorney General Sonia did not run on the same ticket. It's been oftentimes that they do run on the same ticket, and that is a great opportunity to run on the same ticket. But even in running on a ticket, even in swearing yourself into a position, you still swear yourself in to do the roles of your position. And one of the main roles of SGA president is to be impartial, so we can oversee everything without opinion or bias behind it. I think also a very interesting thing about e-board is when one person in e-board is not fulfilling their roles and duties, usually e-board sees it first before anybody else does, because we do have such a close connection to the different functionalities of SGA. So I guess I say that to say that if there was an off chance that the following Attorney General needed to be held to accountability standards, it would probably benefit the e-board to hold the Attorney General to accountability standards more than it would benefit them to keep the transgressions of the Attorney General quiet. Because we do work in a flow and ebb state where if Fian doesn't do her job, I can't do my job. That's how it works. So it would be better to it is a work function to know that if Fian ever slipped from grace, that we as e-board would have to hold her accountable no matter how much we have love for Fian. It's just a matter of the job. So I just wanted to add that point of context or clarification.
Thank you for that clarification. That does help. I had forgotten about that part of the impeachment process for e-board.
Point of clarification. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, President Kelly, but isn't this bill just talking about holding the Attorney General accountable for certain things, not completely like getting rid of them from e-board? Because from my understanding, to completely do that, it has to be a whole impeachment trial that is voted on by the Senate. This is just simply holding them accountable. This isn't necessarily like getting them out of their position.
Yeah, that's correct. So if it's like a level 1 or level 2, like this is what that would deal with. Like if you want to impeach somebody, the Senate has the final say. So for example, hypothetical scenario, it's not real, like if the president were to, make a bad decision, then the Senate could, reject that decision. So it does rest with the Senate. Yeah.
Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, are there any motions on the floor? Oh, I'm sorry. Professor Chair Miller?
I was just gonna call to question Senate Bill 16.
All right, is there a second? Second. Okay, Senator Salmon, how do you vote? Affirmative, yes. With a vote of 13-0, the call to questions has passed. We will now move into a vote. Senator Salmon, are you voting in the disaffirmative? Okay. Okay, with a vote of 12-1-0, the the Senate Bill 16 has passed. Are there any? Are there any motions on the floor? Senator Solomon?
My bad on that last vote. Motion to review Senate Resolution 43, or is the Senate Resolution 42? Okay. Motion,
Do you retract that motion?
I do retract that previous motion.
Is there another motion?
Okay, motion to review Senate Bill 17.
All right, is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Senator. Ufma. Are someone voting in the affirmative? And with the vote of 12-0-0, you has passed. President Pro Tempore Kelly, could you please present your bill? Please present Senate Bill 17.
So Senate Bill number 17 is also clarifying the role of the judicial branch in the Constitution, as well as establishing due process rights for people involved in disciplinary actions. There was a matter of concern about Section 5, subsection 2 about the right to review evidence and keeping people anonymous. I'll let the Attorney General or members of the committee explain concern about that.
Attorney General Sonia?
Yeah, we did talk about this in the committee. I don't think right to review evidence should be in this bill simply because, I've seen situations firsthand where that, could easily go wrong. Luckily enough, not too wrong, but easily it could go very wrong. That also goes with number 5 in this bill, which I know, you guys put that there to, prevent it from going wrong. But there's not really anything that I could do or anything that, like, we're not gonna have bodyguards for people who are, getting PDR'd and are, going through a hefty appeal process or whatever the case may be. So I just, stated in the committee and even now that I don't agree that, the perpetrator should be able to review evidence. Yeah.
President, I also would say, President Pro Tempore Kelly, could you further explain the investigation process for the Attorney General, just for clarification for everyone here?
Like what her role is?
Yeah, when it comes to investigations for the accused and the accused? Yeah.
Yeah, so the way I understand it works is, you submit a PDR. I'm not, is it anonymous currently? I'm not totally sure. So somebody can submit it without putting it in the. Yeah, I just, Jean can speak to that.
Anonymous, as in the accused wouldn't know that you submitted the PDR. Like, I would be the only one that knows that you submitted it. You have to put your name, but there is an option in the PDR form where it's like, do you want to remain anonymous, and et cetera.
And then basically you gather up, like you gather witnesses or people who might
Correct.
understand the situation.
Correct.
And then you give an initial decision.
Yeah, like I decide if said PDR, after the investigation, I would decide if said PDR would be upheld or if it's voided or, there was nothing found there that makes it an actual case.
I guess I do have a question. Is it ever possible for you to keep people anonymous? Like if, let's say we were to keep right to review evidence.
Yeah, it is possible because situations where there is an investigation, I don't really take witness statements unless in said PDR, the person who filed the PDR wants that person to be a witness. When they are describing the incident or whatever did occur, if they name dropped said person, that person officially becomes part of the case, and then I do my investigative process, whether it's an interview or reaching out to them, asking a few questions, things like, did that clarify? Yeah. Okay.
President Ali.
I guess my only opinion here is that the taking away of the anonymous nature of a PDR no longer protects the person who filed said PDR, and we completely strip them of their protection. The 105th administration, I feel like it's a very, calm administration, nothing too outlandish has happened, but if we stripped away the anonymous nature of the PDR, what happens in an administration where something outlandish does happen? And then I also worry about this, keeping the anonymous, whatever it is, keeping the anonymous nature of it, and then also allowing the person, the PDR is getting filed, the PDR is being filed on to see the evidence, would key them into exactly who just filed the PDR. And then again, we strip the person who filed the PDR of the anonymous nature that protects them from the interactions that they may have in the SG office. When somebody knows, oh, you just filed a PDR against me and now it's a PDR level 3, and next Friday I have to sit in the office with Advisor Carolyn, the president, the attorney general, and the chief justice on whether or not I should have my job. And I know exactly who you are, and better yet, we were in close relations, so I know what classes you go to, and I know where you live on campus. And now I have all this information and this idea that you just tried to have me and my position reviewed, and I can do whatever I want to do with it. That's my biggest fear, and yeah, it didn't happen in this administration. Okay. I'm hearing now that it's happened in past administrations, so it has the possibility of happening again. I think us as an administration and us just as student leaders have the duty to protect the people that come up under us to lead.
Appropriations Chair Miller.
I had, I think, two questions. So I understand the, wanting to remain anonymous. Would the right to review evidence, removing that, how would the person receiving the PDR then be able to appeal it if the evidence given that is specific to the individual? How would they be able to appeal that PDR if it is such specific information that it would lead them to the identity of that person? Do you understand my question?
Yeah, in situations like that, when said PDRs do get filed, and I find reasonable cause for that PDR to be upheld, when the person receives the PDR, like you have a level 2 PDR for said and said, the offenses are listed, and even with timestamps, if that makes sense. So let's say, for example, inappropriate behavior or harassment, something like that happened at 12:03 a.m. in Tower A. The PDR that you were issued says these incidents. So it's really like, it can't really be a case where the person who received the PDR doesn't know exactly what happened or doesn't know what they did. Like if you're being issued this PDR, there's evidence of you doing said things, and your PDR lists your offenses specifically. So there's like no reason how, there's no way that they wouldn't know exactly what they did when they did it, because I'd have like Tuesday, 12:05 a.m. on set PDR, stuff like that. But then keeping names out. So it just be like time, place, like specific details like that are included in issued PDRs. So they use that information to get it together and, figure out what was I doing at 12:05 a.m. in, Tower A, what did I say to who, things like that. So it wouldn't be too vague to the point where said accused person wouldn't know. What were you wanted to add? Just, did you like get what I was saying?
Yeah, I got that. I think just follow-up question. How is that not then the right to review evidence if it is included in the PDR? That is their right to be able to see like it? Or are you more concerned about like the right to review like all of the thing, including the name?
I would say all, so like basically what you're saying, so when I do my investigation, when you have right to review evidence, you're basically saying that the accused person can access the notes that I took from an interview, or the notes that I took from a witness statement, the text messages that I sent to so-and-so requesting to meet at said time, or when I reached out to so-and-so for a quick call, things like that. And you don't wanna, that's kind of the part of the anonymous, to protect the person who did submit the PDR. If they knew their name would be out there, the chances of them submitting said PDR and getting justice would be slim to none if they knew that. Things like retaliation could come into play and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
It does. Do we think it would be beneficial to add a sentence in there that says like excluding
For all
things?
that, just take it out. No, we don't even gotta get into this. Just take it out. I personally believe the person accused, when I issue a PDR, I found reasonable cause for said PDR to be issued. I'm not just, issuing it based on what so-and-so said. Like, there's evidence against you that's been proven that makes this PDR, valid. And that's up to, if they appeal it, that's up to J Board to take said evidence that I give them, and the person who comes to said trial to work something out to see if it's valid or not, if that makes sense. So I just feel like in its totality, it should just be taken out. Yeah.
And then, I'm sorry, one last question, I
It's fine.
promise. Is that outlined in the PDR process that, like, the way that you outline it of saying like this, at this time, is that like already outlined specifically?
From what I know, not specifically, but then again, templates are passed down to AG, so transitioning notes prior to it being a thing that Senate did and exec did was something that AG has to do. Moving to the next administration, knowing who you're hiring, their track record, if they were in SGA, things like that have always been a thing within SGA, for AG at least. I'm not sure about everybody else. So when I say templates, script templates, things like that are all passed down, obviously with improvement as time goes on, but to keep things uniformed and non-biased, regardless of the level of the PDR, is something that is very important within my job. So, but I'm not opposed to adding that, like making it mandatory that a specific sentences and stuff like that are added. But then again, it's part of the job. When you issue a PDR, so the person needs to know what it's for. So you receive the PDR from me, your offense is the first sentence. So it's like something that is part of issuing the PDR.
Thank you for that insight.
Like naturally, yeah. Like, did I make sense? Okay. Anything else?
Are there any other questions? All right, are there any motions on the floor? Senator C. Williams?
Call the question, Senate Bill number 17.
Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Senator Hastings. Senator Salmon, do you vote in the affirmative? Okay. With a vote of 11-1-0, the call to question has passed. We will now move into a vote. Senator Salmon, do you vote in the disaffirmative? With a vote of 3-9-0, the Senate Bill 17 has not passed. Thank you, President Pro Tem Kelly, for your vote.
Other any motion on the floor? Senator Hastings,
I motion to review Senate Resolution number 42.
is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Senator Blanco. Ms. Allen, are you moving from? Thank you. The vote 11-0, the motion has passed. Senator Hastings and Assistant Director Burton, please come present your reports.
Okay, Senate Resolution number 42, as introduced last week. Again, Resolution 42 calls for Towson University to make it a required policy that course instructors open their Blackboard course with an accessible syllabus included no later than the Friday before the first day of class. Assistant Director Burton, which if you would like to speak on any changes made in committee.
Although it was added, it was passed favorable with amendments. The only amendments were officially adding the infamous signature sheets and the endorsement from the Academic Standards Committee. That was all that was added.
Any debate? Discussion? Appropriations Chairman,
I'd like to call the question, Senate Resolution 42.
is there a second?
I second.
You, Senator K. Williams. Senator Sal, do you need room? The vote of 11-0, the motion is passed, and we'll now move to a vote on Resolution 42. Senator Sal, do you vote in the affirmative? Thank you. And with a vote of 11-0, resolution number 42 is passed. Thank you. Are there any motions on the floor? Appropriations Chairman,
Motion to review Senate Resolution 43.
is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Senator K. Williams. Ms. Allen, do you have the affirmative? Thank you. And with a vote of 11-0, the motion is passed. And seeing as I'm the bill writer, I'm going to ask Appropriations Chair Miller to take my place. So Resolution 43 is supporting House Bill 1322. Basically, this bill would help expand protections for First Amendment rights on college campuses. I think the most important part of this bill is that it gives students the ability to hold the university accountable when their First Amendment rights are violated, even when they are conducting a peaceful activity such as a protest or other peaceful expressive event.
Thank you, President Pro Tempore Kelly. Are there any questions? Senator Sullivan?
Am I allowed to ask, why in GovOps, I see it was deemed favorable, but why one person had voted against and maybe what the discussion was about?
I was not present, so I'm not sure.
Senator Antoloukou?
It's because it was during the emergency meeting and one person came in late, so she couldn't vote, the person couldn't vote, yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions? Are there any motions on? Senator Higgins?
I'd like to call your question, Senate Resolution 43.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Senator Sullivan. Senator Solomon, how do you vote? All right, affirmative. All right, and then with the vote of 11-0-0, Senate Resolution number 43 has passed. We will now move into a vote. Senator Solomon, how do you vote? Thank you, in the affirmative. All senators with the clicker, please make sure that your vote has been cast. All right, thank you. Now with a vote of 10-1-0, Senate Resolution 43 has passed. Congratulations, Senator.
Are there any motions on the floor? Senator Salmon?
Motion to inquire, so moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Salmon, do you vote in the affirmative? Thank you. And with a vote of 12-0-1, the motion is passed. Senator Trejo, please call your vote.
Hey guys, this is an extension for Bill 14. Rules Committee decided that 500 signatures was too much, so they cut it down to 300 signatures. That's it.
Any questions? Senator Hastings? Nicole, not available.
And could you just clarify what these signatures are for?
It's for the, for students who put a referendum on the election ballot.
Thank you.
Appropriations Chairman.
Could you please clarify the difference between this bill and Senate Bill 15?
Senate Bill 15, that was changing it in the, election policy, but we actually need to amend the Constitution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any motions on the floor? Senator Hayes.
Motion to inquire resolution number 44.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Senator Biliaco. Ms. Allen, do you vote in the affirmative? Thank you. Vote 13-0, the motion is passed. Now, as Senator Hastings and Vice President Brinson, please continue your will.
Good afternoon, everybody. For those who are not previously aware, Taos University is under the authority of the University System of Maryland, abbreviated USM, which is governed by a board of regents. Mr. Tom McMillan is a regent on the board of the USM, and Mr. McMillan is also associated with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Vice President Brinson, would you like to speak further on this resolution?
Okay, everybody. So I promised at the beginning of the year that I wouldn't get up and actually write a resolution unless it was really important, especially how important that this resolution is for us. So like Kyle said, the University System of Maryland is a governing body that oversees Taos University. There's 24 regents that oversee that governing body. And one of these regents, like he said, Mr. Tom McMillan, has recently come under controversy due to his inclusion in the Epstein files. As you see here, it was originally the controversy started when he was in a resurfaced 1992 video with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell talking and having a conversation. Following the resurfacing of that video, he made claims that he had no relationship with the man. He had no relationship with them whatsoever. After further discovery, it was found that Epstein did in fact contribute to a lot of his campaigns. It was found that his name was in Epstein's contact book alongside with his flight logs. Going down, when the files were released, it was found that he actually did have correspondence with him as recent as 2013, which is 5 years after Epstein's first conviction for soliciting a minor for prostitution. And in those correspondences, you see here that they scheduled a meeting at Epstein's New York home, as well as correspondence that claims that Mr. McMillan had been asking about Epstein and trying to get in contact with him. So kind of what we want here is accountability. When we originally ran, the Catalyst ran on a platform of accountability. I ran on a platform of integrity, and we ran to uphold that, not just here in the SGA, not just here in Taos University, but the people that oversee Taos University and that affect us individually. This is a governing board that oversees everyone in here, the one that sets all your tuition, the one that votes on the rules and regulations that you have to abide by. So we believe that their accountability and ethics matter above all else. Their accountability and ethics are way more important than anything else that could happen. And we are calling for a formal investigation from the USM about the relationship between these two, because there's already been lies told to the public in the media from this source. And there's been contradictions. And there's some things in here that already, prior to an investigation, are warrant an accountability procedure, such as the fact that while sitting in office, this member of the USM Board of Regents was in communication with a convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein, who was also at the time the most notorious human trafficker of the last 25 years. And that's what we're here calling for, an investigation formally by the USM, an acknowledgement by the USM, because there's been no acknowledgement and no public statements from this governing body whatsoever, and we're calling for accountability for the people that oversee us and affect the lives of every single student that are in this room right now. Anything else? Wonderful.
Thank you. Are there any technical and non-debatable? Senator Sound.
So, who would be formally investigating this?
So that's something that I wanted to discuss when this went to committee with GovOps. I wanted us to look into researching and amending this piece of legislation to make sure that we are sending this to the proper channels within the USM institution, because I know they have their own processes in administration. So I think that's something I'd like to investigate with the Senate in committee to make sure that we're putting together a formal decision together.
Appropriations Chairman.
What do you hope the goal of the investigation would be, should this bill be passed?
Well, first thing is acknowledgement. We've been working with UMD about this, so I think it's kind of in tandem with the USM. I know UMD had a lot stronger demands than we did, but we want to start out with just a formal investigation because we also don't want to overcrowd the USM's own process, but we want to apply the pressure that it gets them to acknowledge that there is this thing that is going on within their institution. So the first thing is acknowledgement, investigation. And I know that, when the investigation gets in their own hands, students might be concerned there's not gonna be a result. But we would like to work with them once the investigation started, to figure out what the best result would be based on the evidence that's presented in here and any other evidence they might uncover.
Any other questions? Attorney General Sani?
This probably isn't like that pressing, but I guess I would like to know, how would this be like a meeting that you guys would have, or would you guys send ours truly to push someone? Like, what's the plan? Like, how are we going to execute this if it were to pass, to make sure it doesn't like fall through or anything?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So first of all, like I said, I want to work with the Government Operations Committee to figure out the next plan of action in terms of who we want to send it to and what the investigation process we would like that to look like. But as you know, President Ali and I do sit on the USMSC, the Student Council that advises the USM and gets direct communication to them. So if this were to pass in a couple of weeks when we have our upcoming April meeting, we would mention it in our campus report. Along with coordinating further with UMD, we have been in communication with UMD regarding this. And alongside UMD, we're trying to have this made aware to other USM institutions. There are 12. So all the institutions in the USM are in communication about this, at least the student bodies are. And we're starting it off with UMD and ourselves, who I believe are the two biggest schools in that institution. So it's kind of about unionizing with the schools that are represented under this umbrella. But yeah, like I said, working with GovOps to figure out where we want to send it, and then further communication with UMD along with the USMSC, and then we can figure out where to go from there.
Thank you. Any other questions? Appropriations, Chairman.
I want a motion to extend General Assembly by 10 minutes.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Senator Booker.
Ryan just almost gave me a heart attack.
Senator Salmon, do you vote in the affirmative?
I do.
Thank you. And a vote of 8-4-0, the motion is passed and General Assembly has been extended by 10 minutes. Any other technical non-debatable questions? All right, seeing none, thank you, Vice President Brennan, Senator Hewson. Are there any motions on the floor? Appropriations, Chairman Miller.
Motion to acquire Senate Resolution number 45.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Senator Kay Williams. Senator Salmon, do you vote in the affirmative?
Yes.
Thank you. And with a vote of 13-0, the motion is passed. Senator Salmon, please come proceed with the roll call.
Okay, I'll make this really quick. This is basically what I entered the Senate wanting to achieve, pushing to create a marketing major. Basically, I just want the support of the SGA to present to MHEC, who ultimately makes the decision of whether or not marketing will be established as a major or not.
Any technical, non-applicable question? Seeing none, thank you, Senator. Other one working on the floor? Senator Antelope.
Okay, motion to inquire finance bill number 3.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Senator Khan. Senator Salmon, do you vote in the affirmative? Thank you. And with a vote of 13-0, the motion is passed. Appropriations Chair Miller, please confirm your bell.
Finance Bill 3 is for the spring semester budget for the Towson University Students for Public Health. They were initially denied a budget, but they filed an appeal. The appeal was approved, and so the Appropriations Committee heard their budget hearing.
Questions? Thank you. Motion's on the floor.
Motion to inquire budget bill number 3.
Is there a second?
Number 2.
Is there a
I
second?
second.
Thank you, Senator Salmon. Senator Salmon, do you vote in the affirmative? Thank you. With a vote of 13-0, the motion is passed. I'll ask Government Operations Chair Farrell, Senator Kay Williams to please come present the bill.
All right, so basically what Budget Bill 2 is using the residuals that were left over from the last semester, so fall 2025, the funds that the student organizations didn't utilize that was allocated to them, and putting that towards alternative funding. So specifically the Explore Conference Fund and supplemental funding. Appropriations Chair Miller could probably provide more clarification on this, but basically what Advisor Harris, Treasurer Allen, myself and Senator Kay Williams were kind of talking about was how there should be more funds used towards these because of how much they're getting utilized. And additionally, when funds don't get used by these organizations, they go back into our reserves. And one of the things that we talked about a lot as an appropriations committee and as just the SJ Center as a whole is to make sure that we're like utilizing these funds first for the students because we are funded by them and they are for them. So Could appropriations Chair Miller, could you provide more clarification on how much these specific funds have been utilized?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the Explore Conference Fund, we have about $160 remaining. And the supplemental fund, we have about $800 remaining. So that is very tight, especially because I believe we have another application coming up. So there's only so much we're able to allocate left in that fund.
Also, could, actually, yeah, you can do it. So could you talk about how, I guess how these funds have like helped people specifically with the Explore Conference Fund?
So yeah, with the Explore Conference Fund, it has been being utilized a lot more. And so what we want to do with this fund is that we want to make sure that students have the opportunity to branch outside of just Towson. So we've done like research conferences. A lot of people that have done research and done experiments have been able to go to conferences outside of Towson and talk about their research. And also that's good to market Towson as well, to outside people and outside conferences as well.
Are there any questions? See, none, thank you. Are there any announcements? Vice President Brennan?
Alrighty, so we didn't do this at the top, but we're gonna do it now. Can I get a drum roll, please? All right, this week's member of the week. This is someone who came back to SGA recently. They're a member of the 104th administration. Sadly, we're not with us for the fall of the 105th administration, but they came back for the spring, and ever since then, they've been working really hard. They've been really making themselves prominent. They've been all over the office. They've been a bright face that greets everybody every day and hold us all accountable. So without a doubt, this week's member of the week is Director Elliott. Also, other than that, I was directed to wish a happy birthday to Amaya. No, it's not for you.
Are there any other announcements? Any motions on the floor? Government Operations Chair Furlong.
I motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, second. Sarah Sowdy, vote the affirmative. And with a vote of 13-0-0, General Assembly is adjourned.
Okay, so yeah. Oh, yeah, that's okay. Got you. What about the plan about that? She ordered a new set. So you can. Okay. That's not. No, yeah. Yeah, we have a lot. Yeah, sure. This Monday, Wednesday. And that. So, you know where the is, like the library. Okay, so MassCom shares the same building. Yeah, I think just because. Are you? Yeah, they actually were shaking apart. Yeah. Can you wait there for like 5, half a minute? Thank you.
That's so, like, for anybody in the chair, I feel like, yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I'm looking for all the answers.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I understand it. Yeah, no, because I remember our fear originally was that they was being able to have this. And it's like, also, we know, we've had past where it's. What? No, I was getting worried because they're gonna be. I was like, yo, Kevin, I'll just read both of them. But no, we made it, How do you have to say? Yeah, we had some people moving forward with Tower Light and then. So we all like, it was less about this actually more about protect. And not. You train? Yeah, we do train a lot, but it's, yeah, it's still, you know. Or that's another.
But I think it might be good to like admit that.